Welcome back, dear one. Come and settle in. Let whatever you were doing, whatever you were thinking, whatever the day asked of you, let it all recede now, gently, the way the tide recedes from the shore. Slowly. Completely. Without effort. You are here now. And here is the only place you need to be. Tonight, you are going somewhere very peaceful. Somewhere that exists at the edge of the land and the beginning of the sea, where the world is wide and the night is deep and the only sound is the slow, steady breathing of the ocean far below. Tonight, you are going to a lighthouse. Not a lighthouse of urgency or duty, though it has those qualities too, quietly. But tonight, the lighthouse is something else. Tonight, the lighthouse is a home. A warm, small, perfectly sufficient home at the top of a rocky cliff, with a great light turning steadily above, and a fire burning in the sitting room below, and the sea spreading outward in all directions into the gentle, enormous dark. You are the keeper of this lighthouse. And tonight of all nights, is a quiet one. A still one. A night of no storms, no squalls, no urgency. The sea is as calm as you have ever seen it. The sky is clear. The stars are out in their thousands. The light turns above, as it always turns, as it has always turned, steady and faithful and exactly as it should be. And you, keeper, have nothing to do tonight but rest. So rest. Let's begin. Before we step into the lighthouse, before we climb the cliff path and push open the door of the keeper's cottage, let's take just a few moments here, exactly where you are, to prepare your body and your mind for the rest that is coming. Find your most comfortable position. If you are lying in bed, let yourself sink a little deeper into the mattress. Let the pillow receive the full weight of your head. Let your arms fall open at your sides, palms turned softly upward, fingers loose and uncurled. Let your legs stretch out fully, your feet relaxed, your toes unclenched. There is nothing to hold tonight. You can set it all down. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Let it come all the way in. Feel your chest rise. Feel your belly expand. Feel the breath fill you from the bottom up, like water filling a deep vessel, slowly and completely. Fill yourself with this breath. Let it reach every corner of you. Now let it go. Breathe out slowly, through slightly parted lips, and let the breath carry with it whatever the day left behind. The tension, the noise, the long list of things that needed doing, the thoughts that kept circling. Let the breath carry them away, out into the night air, up into the dark sky, where they dissolve and disappear and are gone. Breathe in. Slowly. Filling. Breathe out. Completely. Releasing. With each breath, you are moving closer to sleep. With each breath out, the waking world becomes a little less defined, a little less urgent, a little further away. Breathe in. Notice your shoulders. They may have crept upward during the day, drawn up with effort and attention and all the small strains of being awake in the world. Let them fall now. Let them drop as far as they will go, all the way down, heavy and still. Breathe out. Notice your jaw. Is it holding something? Is it clenched or tight or braced against something? Let it soften. Let your mouth fall just slightly open. Let the muscles of your face smooth and release and go quiet, the way a face goes quiet in sleep, no expression, no effort, only the perfect neutrality of a body completely at rest. Breathe in. Notice your hands. Let them be open. Let your fingers be soft. There is nothing to grip, nothing to hold. You can open your hands completely. Breathe out. Your body is growing heavy. This is the most natural and welcome heaviness, not the heaviness of fatigue or difficulty, but the heaviness of a body releasing, of muscles that have been working all day finally being allowed to stop, of bones that have been carrying you through the world finally being set down. You are being set down now, gently, carefully. The bed holds you. The pillows hold you. The blankets hold you. Everything that needs to hold you is here, and it is sufficient, and you do not need to hold yourself. One more slow breath in. And out. And now, quietly, let's go to the lighthouse. The path to the lighthouse begins at the end of a small coastal road. The road is narrow and winding, barely wide enough for one vehicle, its surface old and slightly uneven where the roots of the coastal grasses have pushed up through the tarmac over many patient years. On either side, the grasses grow thick and low, not the soft grasses of an inland meadow, but the wiry, deep-rooted grasses of the coast, shaped by decades of salt wind into a permanent lean away from the sea, always angled inland as if they have long since accepted that the wind will always win. Tonight, however, the wind has settled. It is one of those rare, extraordinary still evenings that come once or twice in a season on this coast, evenings when the air seems to have forgotten how to move, when the grasses stand upright for once, uncertain what to do with themselves, when the sea, normally always in some state of motion, has settled into something barely more than a gentle, slow-breathing surface of dark water. You walk the path toward the lighthouse. Your footsteps are soft on the old road. The night air is cool but not cold, the kind of coastal cool that is refreshing rather than chilling, that carries with it the clean mineral smell of the sea and something else beneath it, something faintly sweet, the night-blooming flowers in the coastal heath that you pass on either side of the path. Their small white and yellow flowers invisible in the dark but unmistakably present in the air around you. The lighthouse is visible ahead. It has been visible since you turned onto the coastal road, a white tower rising above the cliff edge, its light already turning at the top, sweeping its slow arc across the sea and the sky in a long, patient rotation that you could almost set a clock by. The beam sweeps past you as you walk, and for one moment the world is pale and bright and perfectly illuminated, the path, the grasses, your own hands in front of you, and then the beam moves on and you are returned to the soft, comfortable dark of a clear night with stars above. You pause for a moment and look up. The stars are extraordinary tonight. Without the wind to carry any cloud cover, and this far from any town or road, the sky is utterly, magnificently clear, a darkness so deep and so complete that it seems less like an absence of light than a presence in itself, and across it, from horizon to horizon, the stars are laid out in their millions, their light sharp and steady, each one burning with the quiet, enormous faithfulness of something that has been burning for longer than the mind can comfortably hold. You stand on the coastal path and look up at the stars for a long moment. The lighthouse beam sweeps by again. And you walk on. The cottage at the base of the lighthouse is small and square and painted white, the same white as the tower itself, though the years and the salt air have softened the whiteness to a warm, slightly weathered cream that suits the place better than any fresh coat of paint would. The windows are lit, one on the ground floor, glowing with the warm amber light of a lamp burning inside, and one on the upper floor, dark but for the faint light that spills under the door from the hallway. There is a small garden. Or rather, there is the memory of a garden, a space on the sheltered inland side of the cottage where someone has, at some point in the history of this place, attempted to grow things. Some of what was planted has survived and flourished in the particular way of coastal plants that find their footing. There are lavender bushes, thick and woody and still carrying a few late blooms, and a rosemary hedge along the low stone wall that releases its sharp, piney fragrance when you brush against it in passing, and a climbing plant of some kind along the cottage wall whose name you don't know but whose dark leaves catch the light beautifully. You open the low wooden gate. The gate creaks, just once, softly, the creak of old wood in an old hinge, a sound so familiar and so associated with this place that it might be the cottage's way of saying welcome home. You close it behind you. You walk the few steps of the stone path to the cottage door. You press the iron handle. The door opens. The smell of the inside of the cottage is the smell you know. Every home has its smell, the particular combination of everything that has ever been cooked or burned or dried or lived within its walls, accumulated over years into something completely unique, something that lives in memory deeper than words. This cottage smells of the sea. Inevitably, no space this close to the water is entirely free of the sea's presence, and beneath that, of old stone and old wood and the particular dry, slightly sweet smell of a lamp that has been burning for a long time. There is a faint trace of tea, always, and tonight, something else, bread, perhaps, or something baked, something warm and good that lingers in the air of the small kitchen to the left of the hallway. You step inside. You hang your jacket on the hook beside the door. The hallway is narrow and low-ceilinged, its walls hung with the kinds of things that belong in a lighthouse keeper's home: a barometer, old and brass-faced, its needle pointing to a symbol that means fair weather and staying fair. A calendar, the kind with large numbers, and a photograph. This month's photograph is of a different lighthouse, somewhere far north, its tower red-striped, its rocks different from yours. A shelf with a few items on it, a smooth piece of sea glass, green as deep water, a small brass compass, a folded chart of the coastline, its edges worn soft from much handling. You walk through to the sitting room. The sitting room is the heart of the cottage. It faces seaward. The window on the front wall looks out, past the small garden and the low stone wall and the edge of the cliff, directly over the water. During the day, the view from this window is the view you have come to love best in the world, the endless variety of the sea, which is never the same twice, never exactly the same color or texture or mood, which offers something different to look at in every light and every weather. At night, the window shows a different kind of beauty, the dark water far below, the wider dark of the sky above, and the lighthouse beam sweeping its steady arc across both, appearing at the window every few seconds in a brief, bright reminder that the light is doing its work, that all is well, that the night is proceeding as it should. The furniture in the sitting room is old and modest and perfectly suited to the room. There is a sofa, not a large sofa, but a deep one, its cushions worn from much sitting, its fabric a dark blue-green that has faded unevenly in the places where the light most often falls, giving it a patchy, almost painterly quality that you have long since stopped seeing as wear and simply see as part of what it is. There are pillows along it, mismatched in the way of things that have accumulated rather than been selected, a striped one, a plain cream one, a small square one the color of deep red that was a gift from someone and whose origin you no longer remember but whose presence you like. There is a low wooden table in front of the sofa. There is a lamp in the corner, a tall floor lamp with a warm amber shade that is the source of the light you saw from outside, filling the room with the comfortable, non-specific glow of something that is neither trying to illuminate nor to dim, but simply to be present. And there is, at the far end of the room, a small fireplace. It is not a large fire. The nights here are rarely cold enough to demand a large fire, and in any case the cottage is small enough that a small fire does all the work that needs doing. But there is a fire, a good fire, birch and driftwood together, the driftwood burning with those occasional blue and green flames that salt does to fire, and the whole thing is burning well and steadily and casts its warm light across the room to meet the lamp's light from the other side, so that the whole room is filled with a soft, layered warmth that is one of the most comfortable things you know. You sit on the sofa. You put your feet up. You lean back against the pillows. And for a long, still moment, you simply exist in this room, this warm and quiet room, with the fire burning and the lamp glowing and the lighthouse beam sweeping past the window in its slow, faithful rotation, and the sea far below breathing its long, deep, patient breaths against the rocks of the cliff. You are home. You are the keeper, and the light is turning, and the night is calm, and all is well. The kettle is on the small stove in the kitchen, which you know because you put it there before going out for your evening walk, and it is probably ready by now. You are not in any hurry to get it. You sit for a few more minutes, letting the room settle around you, letting your body settle into the sofa, letting the warmth of the fire reach you from across the room in its slow, generous way. The fire makes the sounds a good fire makes. A small pop. A soft crackling. The occasional light hiss where something in the driftwood meets the flame. These sounds fill the quiet room the way the fire's light fills the quiet room, incompletely, in the best way, leaving enough silence and enough shadow to make the warmth and the light feel precious. You listen to the fire. You listen to the sea, which you can hear very faintly from here, not individual waves, this far from the window with the glass closed, but the general low, rhythmic presence of it, the bass note of the night, the breathing below everything else. It has been there so long, that sound, that you barely notice it most of the time. It is simply the background of life here, the way traffic might be the background of a city life or birdsong the background of a country life. The sea is the sound this place is made of, and tonight it is at its most gentle, quiet and steady and perfectly unhurried. You breathe with it. In as the wave comes in, out as the wave goes back. In, out. The lamp in the corner breathes its warm light. The fire speaks its soft language. The lighthouse beam sweeps by the window. And you rest. After a while, you don't count the minutes. There is no need. You get up and go to the kitchen. The kitchen is small and practical, everything in it exactly where it needs to be, no excess, no clutter. The wooden countertop is worn smooth with years of use. The window above the sink looks out toward the side of the cliff where there is nothing to see in the dark but the grass of the headland and, above it, the stars. The kettle has come to a boil and clicked off, and the steam from it has slightly fogged the window, and you wipe it clear with the back of your hand and look out for a moment at the stars above the headland while you prepare your tea. You take your mug from the shelf, a wide, heavy mug, good to hold, the glaze inside it pale and warm. You put in the tea. You pour the water, slowly, watching the color bloom outward from the bag in that particular spreading way, dark at the center and fading to gold at the edges. You add a little honey, because tonight is the kind of night for honey in the tea. You do not add anything else. You carry the mug back to the sitting room. The weight of it in your hands is a comfort, warm and solid, a small, dependable warmth in the palms. You sit back on the sofa. You wrap both hands around the mug. You breathe in the steam, warm and slightly floral, with the grassy, earthy depth of the tea beneath, and the faint sweetness of the honey. It is one of those smells that is also a feeling, that travels from nose to chest in one easy movement, settling there like something finally at rest. You take a small sip. The warmth moves through you. And the fire burns. And the sea breathes. And the lighthouse turns. The lighthouse beam sweeps past the window. You watch it each time it comes around. It appears at the left edge of the window, moving from left to right in its slow, wide arc, a brief, bright bar of white light that crosses the room for one moment, illuminating everything in its path with clean, clear precision, the mug in your hands, the surface of the table, the far wall. And then it is gone, and the softer, warmer light of the lamp and the fire returns, and you wait for the next pass. It comes every few seconds. Steady. Unhurried. Always exactly the same. There is something deeply comforting about this. About the predictability of it. About something that will always come, will always be the same, that you never need to worry about or wonder about. The light will pass. And then it will pass again. And then again. All through the night, while you sleep, the light will keep turning, the beam will keep sweeping the dark water, and whatever is out there on the sea tonight, any vessel, any navigator trusting the light to mark the rocks and the shore, will be guided safely by it. This is what the lighthouse is for. This is what it has always been for. And tonight, the light asks nothing of you that you haven't already given. The mechanism is wound, the oil is sufficient, the lens is clean. Everything is as it should be. Your only duty now is to rest, to be here, to let the night pass quietly over you the way the lighthouse beam passes quietly over the sea. You take another small sip of tea. The fire has settled into a good, steady burning. The initial bright leaping of fresh laid wood has given way to the deeper, more serious burning of logs that have been alight for some time, less flame, more heat, a radiant warmth that you feel on your face and hands and feet even from the sofa across the room. The driftwood in particular has a wonderful quality to it. The salt it has absorbed from years in the sea causes the flames, where they still burn, to flicker in those occasional, brief, extraordinary blues and greens that seem to belong less to a hearth fire and more to something submarine, something seen through deep clear water far from shore. You watch the colors. Blue, for a moment, a brief, brilliant blue at the base of a flame, there and gone. Then a deep green, equally brief, equally beautiful. Then the ordinary orange and amber and the deep red gold of the embers beneath, which is also beautiful, differently, the beauty of something dependable and warm and constant. The logs shift. One settles against another with a soft, low sound, the sound of solid things finding their rest, and the fire receives this adjustment and goes on burning, untroubled, as it will go on burning. You breathe in the warmth. You breathe out slowly. In. Out. Outside, the sea. The sea tonight is something to hear. You know, from years of living here, that the sea has a vast vocabulary, that it speaks entirely differently on a stormy night than on a calm one, entirely differently at high tide than at low, differently in summer than in winter. Differently when the wind is northerly than when it comes from the south. You have heard it speak in nearly every voice it has, and there is something valuable in all of them, something worth attending to, even the dramatic ones. But tonight's voice is the one you love best. Tonight the sea is speaking very quietly, very slowly, in the voice it reserves for its calmest evenings, a steady, low, rhythmic murmur that barely qualifies as sound in the usual sense. That is more of a presence than a noise, more felt than heard. It is the voice of a sea that has nowhere to be, nothing to do, that is simply moving in the most fundamental way that water moves when nothing is disturbing it, the gentle, natural oscillation of a vast body of water under the influence of the moon's quiet pull. The waves do not crash tonight. They simply arrive. They come in long, low swells that travel all the way from wherever they were born, somewhere far out in the open ocean, moving through miles of deep water at their own unhurried pace, and when they reach the base of the cliff below the lighthouse, they do not throw themselves against the rocks. They ease up against them. They curl under the overhang, and there is the briefest sigh, the air compressed and then released, and then the water draws back, completely, peacefully, and the next wave begins its approach. Sigh. And back. Sigh. And back. You can hear it from here, very faintly, through the walls of the cottage. Not the sound of individual waves, more the general, collective rhythm of all of them together, a pulse, a breathing, the sea inhaling and exhaling in its own deep, geological time. You breathe with it. You let the rhythm of your breathing find the rhythm of the sea, the way two pendulums in the same room will eventually find each other's rhythm. Your breath slows to meet the waves. Your chest rises and falls with the same patient, deliberate pace. In. Out. The sea breathes. You breathe. The stars are still out. You can see them through the sitting room window, not the whole sky. The window is too small for that, but a generous portion of it, a rectangle of deep blue-black dotted with the brightest stars, the ones that are visible even through old glass at a slight distance. The lighthouse beam sweeps through them as it passes, and for that fraction of a second the stars in its path seem to dim, outshone by the beam's closer, stronger light, and then the beam moves on and the stars return to their quiet, steady brilliance. You watch this happen several times. The beam comes. The stars near it seem to hold their breath. The beam moves on. The stars breathe again. It is a beautiful little rhythm, this one. Entirely accidental, entirely natural, entirely perfect. You watch the stars for a while without naming any of them, without thinking about the distances between them or the time it has taken their light to reach you. You simply look at them the way you look at the fire, receptively, openly, without agenda. As things that are beautiful and that are here. A star moves. Not a star. Something crossing the sky, moving steadily from one side of the window to the other in about half a minute. A satellite, perhaps, or something else moving at great height, its light constant and unwavering, traveling its own arc above all of this, above the lighthouse, above the cottage, above the cliff and the sea and the dark coastal heath, above everything, moving in its own high, silent orbit. You watch it until it passes out of the frame of the window. And then there are only the stars again. Still. Bright. Patient. After some time, you finish your tea. The mug is empty, warm in your hands but no longer warming them, and you set it down on the low table with the small, satisfying sound of ceramic on old wood. You sit for a moment with empty hands, and the feeling of empty hands after holding something warm is itself a kind of arrival, a returning to the baseline, to the simple, unencumbered fact of being here, being still, being quiet. You think, idly, about going up to the lamp room. Not because you need to, everything up there is fine, the light is turning, the mechanism is sound. But because there are nights, certain nights, when going up to the lamp room is what the evening calls for. When the climb is worth making simply for the view, for the particular quality of being at the top of the tower with the great lamp revolving at your shoulder and the entire sweep of the coast and the sea spread out below you in every direction. Tonight, you think, might be one of those nights. You get up from the sofa. You are in no hurry. You move through the sitting room and into the hallway and to the base of the lighthouse stairs, where the metal door at the bottom of the tower stands slightly ajar, as it always does, letting the faint coolness of the stairwell breathe into the warmth of the cottage. You push it open. You begin to climb. The lighthouse stairs spiral upward in a tight, regular helix around the central column of the tower, the steps cast iron, their surface slightly ridged to give grip, their edges worn smooth along the center line where thousands of feet across 100 years have taken this same path. You climb slowly, one hand on the iron railing that curves upward beside you, the other hand free at your side. The stairwell is cool. Not cold, just several degrees cooler than the cottage below. The way towers are cool, the way stone is cool, the way enclosed vertical spaces that breathe from below collect the night's coldness in their height. The coolness is pleasant against the warmth of your face, and you breathe it in as you climb, feeling it move through your lungs clean and clear, ocean-tinged, carrying the faintest trace of salt and metal and the oil that the lighthouse mechanism has always smelled of. The sound changes as you climb. Below, the cottage sounds, the fire, the faint sea through the walls, give way to the sound of the tower itself, the slight, periodic vibration of the mechanism above, its smooth, reliable rotation just barely audible through the metal of the stairs. The creak of the tower's old iron fittings as the temperature changes with altitude, and, above and around everything, more present with every step you take, the sea. The sea is louder up here. The tower rises above the roof of the cottage, above the protection of the cliff's edge, and the sounds that the cottage walls muffled are no longer muffled. The low, rhythmic breathing of the waves below comes to you clearly now, not urgently, not loudly, but fully, completely, the way a voice speaking at normal volume in a quiet room comes to you, present, real, without distortion. You pause on one of the landings, about halfway up, and listen. The sea. The mechanism turning above. Your own breathing. These three things in the night stairwell of the lighthouse, layered softly over each other like music in three registers. And for a moment you stand very still and simply listen to all of them together, to the particular composition they make, the particular piece. Then you continue climbing. The lamp room is circular and glassed all around. The great Fresnel lens, a towering construction of precisely ground glass in concentric rings, its geometry both mathematical and somehow organic, like the eye of some vast and benevolent creature, turns beside you with the smooth, barely audible hum of a well-maintained mechanism, its rotation so steady, so precisely timed, that standing beside it feels like standing beside something breathing. The light itself is brilliant at this distance. You know to avert your eyes from the lamp directly. You have been keeper here long enough to know that, but the illumination of the lamp room, the way the light fills the glass and multiplies through the lens and pours out in its great sweeping beam, is extraordinary even without looking at the source. The lamp room is full of light. Every surface in it catches and reflects some fraction of the beam as it passes: the metal fittings of the mechanism, the glass of the outer walls, the floor, the ceiling, so that for those few seconds when the beam sweeps past your position, you stand in a room filled with light from all directions, brilliant and complete. Then the beam moves on. And the lamp room goes back to its usual dim, the only light now the ambient glow of the lamp seen through its housing, and the stars through the glass all around you. You move to the glass and look out. The view from the top of the lighthouse is the finest thing you know. It is, quite simply, everything. To the east, the coast curves away, the line of the cliffs, white and pale in the starlight, following the headland around to where the distant lights of the nearest town are visible as a faint, low glow on the horizon, warm and amber and too far away to be intrusive, just present enough to remind you that the world of people and warmth and quiet ordinary life is out there, going about its evening. To the west, more cliffs, then the dark shape of the offshore island, low and humped against the water, its own small presence in the night. To the north and south, the sea. The sea is extraordinary tonight, seen from this height. In the calm, the surface of the water has taken on a particular quality, not quite reflective, because even the calmest ocean is never truly still, but deeply luminous, the starlight absorbed into the surface and distributed across its gentle, barely perceptible movement so that the whole vast expanse of water seems to glow from within with a cold, silver, submarine light. You can see the lighthouse beam on the water. That is the gift of being up here. You can see your own light doing its work. The beam sweeps across the surface and the water beneath it brightens for that moment, and then the beam moves on and the water dims again, and the circle of illumination moves steadily away from you, across the sea, out toward the horizon, and then swings back, and you watch it sweep back toward you, brightening the water, and you think, this is what it does, all night, every night, faithfully and without complaint, lighting the dark water for whoever is out there. Tonight, looking out, you see no vessels. The sea is empty. The night is yours alone, or nearly. There is only the water and the sky and the turning light. You stand at the glass for a long time. The beam sweeps. The stars burn. The sea breathes below. You descend the stairs slowly. Step by step, the iron cool beneath your hand, the sound of the sea diminishing with each landing past, the warmth of the cottage reaching up through the open tower door to meet you before you reach the bottom. By the time you step back into the hallway and pull the tower door gently closed behind you, the warmth has wrapped around you completely, and the contrast between the cooler air of the tower and the warmth of the cottage makes the cottage feel even warmer than it is. You stand in the hallway for a moment, letting the warmth settle over you. Then you go back to the sitting room. The fire has burned lower while you were upstairs. The bigger logs are now mostly coals, deep orange red, pulsing with their stored heat, still giving warmth generously but no longer giving much light. The room is darker than it was, the lamp in the corner the primary light now, its amber glow doing its best to fill the space. You kneel at the fireplace and take one more small piece of driftwood from the basket beside the hearth, just one, not to rebuild the fire but simply to give it something, to let it continue a little longer, and you lay it carefully across the coals. The fire accepts it. A few new flames find the dry surface of the wood and begin their patient work, and soon there is the familiar, comfortable crackling again, and a little more light, and the warmth deepens. You sit back on the sofa. You are not cold. You are very warm, actually, warmed from the outside by the fire, and from the inside by the tea, and by something else that is harder to name, something to do with the night itself, the particular quality of this quiet, this peace. There is a warmth that has nothing to do with temperature and everything to do with being exactly where you are meant to be, doing exactly what you are meant to be doing, which is nothing and everything. You are here. The light is turning. The sea is breathing. The fire speaks. You reach for the small pillow at the end of the sofa, the deep red square one, and you pull it to your chest and hold it loosely, the way one holds something soft without purpose or urgency, simply because it is there and it is comfortable. The fabric is soft. The pillow is light. You hold it and you rest your head back against the cushion at the top of the sofa and you look at the ceiling. The ceiling of the sitting room is low and wooden, the old boards of the cottage's upper floor visible from below, their grain dark with age and the salt air of decades, their surfaces uneven in the beautiful way of very old things that have settled into themselves over long years and are no longer trying to be anything other than what they are. The light from the lamp and the fire moves across the ceiling in the most gentle, barely perceptible way. The fire's light, being a living light, moves slightly, and its movement is visible up here, a slow, soft shifting of warm light and warm shadow that is almost like the breathing of the room itself. The ceiling rising and falling slightly in the light. Almost like the breathing of the sea. You watch it. In and out. Brighter, then softer. The lighthouse beam crosses the window, you can see the reflection of it on the ceiling, a brief bright bar moving across the wooden boards, and then it is gone, and the ceiling is amber and shadow again. You are growing very heavy. Your body is settling into the sofa the way a stone settles to the bottom of still water, slowly, completely, without resistance. Your legs are heavy and still. Your arms are heavy. Your hands, still loosely holding the small pillow, are heavy and warm. Your eyelids are heavy. Not uncomfortably heavy. Beautifully heavy. The heaviness of a body that is done for the day. The heaviness of something that has been in motion and is now, gratefully, completely still. The clock on the mantel shows nearly 10. You notice it without caring about it, the way you notice things when you are very tired and comfortable, receiving them without assigning them any particular meaning. It is nearly 10. This is a number. Numbers mean nothing tonight. Tonight is not a night of numbers or plans or the ticking of clocks toward any particular point. Tonight is only this warmth, this quiet, this fire, this sea. There is something on the mantel beside the clock. A small jar, its glass dark from age or from what it contains, sea glass, you remember, collected from the beach below the cliff over many months, accumulated piece by piece on afternoon walks when the tide was low and the light was good and the shingle was full of the rounded, frosted pieces of old glass that the sea smooths and returns. Sea glass comes in every color, clear, most commonly, and brown, and the pale aqua of old medicine bottles, but the jar on the mantel has several pieces of the rarer kinds, a deep cobalt blue, a soft amber, one piece of a thick, opaque green that is your favorite. That sits in the jar turned toward the room and catches the lamplight and holds it, glowing gently. You look at the green piece of sea glass from across the room. It glows. It has been through enough, whatever its original life. That glass was made and used and broken and lost to the sea and tumbled for years in the surf and the shingle, all its sharp edges worn smooth, all its clarity replaced by the beautiful frosted opacity of something that has been worked on by the world for a very long time. And now it sits in a jar on the mantel of a lighthouse keeper's cottage and glows in the lamplight and is, in this moment, exactly what it is, no more and no less. You love it for this. You breathe in. Out. The fire speaks. The sea breathes. The light turns. You are not sleeping yet, but you are somewhere very close to the country of sleep, in the borderlands, the soft terrain that lies between waking and not waking, where the mind moves more slowly and the images that rise in it are less governed by logic and more by something else, something looser and more associative, the drift of a mind releasing its grip on the waking world. You see, without meaning to see, the surface of the sea as it looked from the top of the tower. That cold, silver-luminous expanse. That barely perceptible breathing. That beam of light sweeping across it, illuminating and releasing, illuminating and releasing. You see the stars as they looked through the lamp-room glass, so many, so far, so steady. You see the green sea glass, glowing. You see the fire, deep in its embers, the last of the blue and green flames of the driftwood moving in their brief, extraordinary way. These images come and go without your directing them, without your holding them or pursuing them. They are simply there, and then they are not, and other things take their place, quieter things, softer things, the kind of half-images and half-thoughts that the mind makes in the moments before sleep, which are not quite memories and not quite dreams, but something in between, something that belongs to this borderland and nowhere else. You breathe in, out. The pillow in your arms. The sofa beneath you. The warmth all around you. After a while, you get up from the sofa. It takes a small effort, not because you are reluctant, but because your body has grown heavy and comfortable in a way that makes movement feel like an interruption of something very pleasant. You set the pillow down. You stretch very slightly. You stand in the sitting room and look around it one last time for the night. The fire is low. One small flame still burns at the center of the last log, its light warm and barely there. The coals beneath glow dark orange, sufficient to warm the room for several more hours on their own, long after the last flame dies. The lamp in the corner burns steadily. The lighthouse beam sweeps past the window, passes through the room in its brief, bright arc, moves on. You go to the lamp and turn it down. Not off, only down, to its lowest setting, enough to leave a gentle glow in the room, enough that the cottage is not entirely dark below while the lighthouse burns above. The glow of the turned-down lamp is warm and very soft, barely brighter than candlelight, and the sitting room in this light is everything a sitting room should be at the end of a good quiet evening, warm and dim and restful, the fire's last ember reflected in the glass of the dark window, the sea visible beyond it as the deep, dark, luminous presence it is. You stand at the window for a moment. The sea. There it is, as it always is, as it always will be, out beyond the cliff edge, out beyond the small garden and its lavender and its night-blooming things, out beyond everything, vast and dark and breathing in the dark, moving with the moon's pull, lit by the stars, crossed every few seconds by the beam of the lighthouse above. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever looked at. You have looked at it every evening for as long as you have been here, and it is still, without exception, the most beautiful thing. You stay at the window for a moment longer. Then you let the sitting room go, and you go down the hallway, and you go upstairs to bed. The bedroom is small and set at the back of the cottage, its single window looking not out to sea but inland, over the low stone wall of the garden to the dark heath beyond, where the coastal grasses and the heather and the bracken spread away toward the distant high ground, and the sky above them is thick with stars. This window faces east. In the mornings, early, the first light comes through this window, pale and gradually warming, the sky above the heath going from dark to gray to a deep, clear blue before the sun clears the horizon. You have watched this happen many hundreds of times. You will watch it again tomorrow morning. But tonight the window shows only the dark. The dark heath, the dark sky, the stars, and a faint, very distant light, the light of the nearby town again, a low amber smudge on the eastern horizon, warm and human and comforting in the way that lights in the distance at night are always comforting, the evidence of other lives going quietly about their evenings. The bed is narrow and high, as beds in old cottages often are, a wooden frame, painted white once and repainted several times since, the paint now carrying the tiny marks and chips of long habitation, each one a small record of some moment of contact, some corner of something, some incidental bump that left its small trace in the paint. The mattress is deep and soft. The pillow is cool. There are 2 blankets and a quilt, which is probably more than is strictly necessary tonight, but the weight of them is welcome, the layered warmth of them the perfect weight. You turn down the covers. You sit on the edge of the bed. The room is very quiet. The lighthouse beam does not reach this room. The window faces away from the sea, but you can see its reflection in the glass of the window, a faint, periodic brightening in the surface of the eastward glass that tells you, each time it comes, that the light is still turning, that everything above is as it should be, that the lighthouse is doing its patient, faithful work. You take off your shoes. You swing your legs up onto the bed. You pull the blankets up, the sheet first, cool and smooth, then the blanket, heavy and warm, then the quilt, which settles over everything with its familiar, soft, substantial weight. You lie back against the pillow. And the room receives you, completely, without reservation. The pillow is cool beneath your cheek. It is one of the best things, the coolness of a fresh pillow at the beginning of a night, before the warmth of sleep has had time to work into it. You turn your cheek into it and the coolness is immediate and perfect, and you stay very still to preserve it for as long as you can, which is not very long but is long enough. You breathe in. The room smells of the cottage, of the old wooden boards and the salt air that finds its way into every room of this place, and of something else, something particular to this room, that you have never tried to name. Something that is simply the smell of here, the smell of many nights in this room, the smell of sleep accumulated over long years in this particular high-ceilinged, white-painted, east-facing space. You breathe it in without analyzing it. You simply breathe. In. Out. In. Out. The lighthouse beam crosses the window glass. In the reflection, a brief brightening. Then dim again. In. Out. The cottage is quiet. The sitting room below is quiet, the fire in its last, patient embers. The garden is quiet, the lavender still, the rosemary still, the night-blooming things releasing their soft scent into the motionless dark. The cliff is quiet, and the sea below the cliff is breathing so slowly now, so gently, that it is barely a sound at all. The lighthouse turns. And turns. And turns. And you are in your bed. Warm. Heavy. Still. Your breathing has found the rhythm of the sea, or the sea has found your rhythm. It is impossible to say which, it no longer matters, and the two breathings are one slow, unhurried, perfectly natural movement. In. Out. The lighthouse beam crosses the window. In. Out. The stars above the heath are very bright. They have been burning for a very long time, and they will burn for a very long time yet, and they ask nothing of you, and they need nothing from you, and they are simply here, burning their patient, faithful light in the dark above the lighthouse, above the cottage, above you. Everything is here. Everything is well. Everything is quiet and warm and still and safe. You don't need to think about anything. You don't need to hold on to anything. You can simply rest. The sound of the sea is very soft. Now, just a breath. In the dark, far below, in and out, in and out. The lighthouse beam sweeps slowly past, and the room grows dimmer and softer, and the weight of the blankets is warm and heavy and good. Your eyes are closed. Your breathing is slow. Your body is still. The cottage holds you. The cliff holds the cottage. The sea holds the cliff. And all of it holds you gently, completely, without effort. The fire is only embers now. No flame. Only the deep, slow glow of coals that have burned through their evening and are resting now in their own warmth, fading slowly, quietly, the way all good things fade at the end of a good day. The lamp in the sitting room is barely aglow. The cottage is almost dark, almost perfectly still. The lighthouse turns above. One beam sweeping the dark water, patient and faithful. In the dark, always the same, always here. You are so close to sleep now. You can feel it. The soft edge of it, just here. Just beneath you. Like deep, warm water. Waiting. You are drifting toward it. Easily. Naturally. The way a boat drifts when someone lets go of the rope. Gently. With the current. Without resistance. There is nothing to resist. There is nothing to hold. Only the warmth. And the dark. And the sound of the sea. Very far away. Breathing. In. Out. In. Out. Sleep now. Sleep, keeper. The light is turning. It will keep turning all night long. Steady and faithful. Sweeping its patient beam. Across the quiet water. Across the still coast. Across the dark and the stars. Keeping everything safe. As it always has. As it always will. You have done your work. You have tended your light. And now, the light tends itself. And you You can sleep. The sea breathes and breathes and breathes. The lighthouse turns and turns and turns. The stars burn, steady and still, above the window, above the heath, above the dark, and the warm, and you. Everything grows quieter and softer and calmer and still. You're breathing so slow now, so gentle, so deep. In and out, in and out. The cottage holds you. The night holds you. The sea holds everything. Gently, in its enormous, patient, tender, dark, sleep, dear keeper, sleep in your warm bed, in your quiet cottage, at the top of the cliff, where the lighthouse turns, and the sea breathes, and the stars burn, and everything is well. You are safe. You are warm. You are home. Sleep now. Sleep and drift, and let the night carry you all the way down into the soft, and the warm, and the deep, and the still, into sleep, into rest, into the quiet that is always here, waiting just for you. The sea breathes. The lighthouse turns. The stars burn. And you sleep.